Hey
Yeah.
everybody, welcome to a special edition of the Freakin' You cast. Now,
This one called
usually,
Forecast.
the Forkin' You cast, holy shirtballs.
Yeah.
Um, this is usually the segment where me and Joe are talking, and we don't want Bradley or by extension Tyler to be there because we're usually talking about current One Piece or JoJo Leon, but this is a special occasion because what we really want to talk is we want to go full spoilers with
Yeah.
the TV show The Good Place.
Yay.
Yay! I recently finished season 3. Season 4 is about to air in current time, and this feels like a good time to get all of our our season 1 through season 3 talks out of the way.
Yeah. So, I don't. Uh, I'm not gonna go through the whole like summary of the Good Place because that's way too much. And I
Yeah.
feel like if you're gonna be listening to this, you should be watching the Good Place and you should go
Yeah,
watch the Good
we
Place.
should make a strict statement right now. We are
Yeah.
not summarizing because you really should not listen to this if you haven't watched The Good Place, and you have
Yeah.
even an inkling of a want to watch it.
We already did a spoiler-free version earlier last
Yeah,
week.
check
Yeah.
out episode 16 of the Roundabout cast called
Yeah.
Luffy Vor's Crocodile. I don't know if you knew about that one.
Um. But anyways, so the way that the show has really like done a great job of coming full circle with itself, I feel. At
Yeah,
least
and in the progress breaking itself whenever possible.
yes. And for me, I would like, especially after season 1 or season 2, you're like, oh, they're doing it again. It's kind of frustrating, but they're able to have these. It's so funny because uh our characters are both static and flat characters at the same time.
It's so interesting. It's the only show that could do that.
Yeah, and I told you this earlier, where it's like this is like the Good Place is telling a story, and is the only way it could possibly tell the story that it's telling.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it really gets elevated because of that. Like there's so much thought put into the structure
Mhm.
of the show.
Yeah, but like, dude, so I want to ask you a question. Did you, at the end of season 2, did you pick up what was being foreshadowed, like one episode before the finale?
About the season 1 twist?
No, 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 season 2,
Okay, season 2, the foreshadowing
the
of
finale. Yeah.
the season 2 finale was the one where what was there wasn't a reveal. It was just that they sent people back.
Yes.
Were you asking if I was picking up that they were going to send everyone back to their?
Well, no, not necessarily that, but something. So, okay, I'll just go ahead. So,
I mean, I know everything. You could just say
right.
it.
So, right before they go and do the whole judge thing, Chidi and Eleanor are sitting down there talking, and Chidi's like, "Man, I really wish we could have met in real life in a normal ass way, where like you're a college student or something, and you come to my door for during my
Right.
office hours to learn about ethics."
Because he's like,
And
that's how normal people meet, and she's like, that's not how normal people meet.
yeah, and then later at the finale episode, you go through Eleanor when she lives past the point where she's supposed to die, and that's how she ends up meeting Chidi.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of foreshadowing like that. Like
Yeah,
about 20% of the things Jason says come true. For
yeah,
example, he's got the Usopp factor.
yeah.
There's a lot of good foreshadowing. So when you finished season 1, you were new. So I knew the twist to season 1, and you didn't. What did you
Right.
think about it? Because I started listening to the podcast of the show today. Actually, one thing
Uh-huh.
I didn't know: the guy who made the show also made Parks and Rec and Brooklyn Nine Nine. And
Yes, that's kind of like one of the reasons that I hopped on it because I was like, oh, this guy made two of my favorite comedy shows. Brooklyn Nine-Nine is also really good.
should I
It's
watch
just
that? I haven't seen it, but Parks and Rec is like top 5 TV shows
I
for me.
think I don't know if Brooklyn Nine-Nine's like humor will resonate with you as well, but I love Brooklyn Nine-Nine still.
I need this character development, man. That's what Parks and Rec did so well, and that's what The Good Place does so well.
That's Brooklyn Nine-Nine still has that. I think it's a lot smaller compared to Good
Yeah.
Place, but it's definitely there.
But The Good Place is easily like I think it's top 5 now. And there's
Yeah.
so many points. So what did you think when you got to the twist? Right?
So when I watched season one, it literally was just I think it just like season two just started airing because it was just on Netflix and I watched it. And I told you this before. When I watched the show, I literally just had it on. I was like, oh, it's one season. I'll watch it and see like what's up. I honestly thought that it was one of those shows that was going to get like canned after 2 seasons.
Uh huh.
Because the premise seemed very limited. It's like, oh, she's not supposed to be in heaven and she's a bad person. Oh
How many
no.
times can she avoid getting caught? Basically.
Right. And it's like this seems like a typical kind of like gag manga sort of deal.
Yeah. But what sold me on it? I first of all I knew the twist, but I
Yeah.
was surprised that like by episode 7, she confesses, and
Yeah.
that just really threw a wrench both narratively into Michael's plan, but also that was the point at which the series stopped being predictable in any way.
Mhm. And you're just like I was shocked too. I was like, whoa, what is happening? Like I thought like at this point Michael was gonna have to like lie and then they were gonna have to sneak around or something like that. Like I thought it was honestly gonna be more of the long lines of like, oh, um, everyone just learns to love Eleanor and they have to keep her in a good place and they have to do all these different things to like keep her there.
Which, to
Kind
be
of
fair, I think that would still be a decent TV show, just because the writing and the acting's so good. But that's not enough for them.
no, it's not.
They don't want their characters to be the best. They already are. Like they won't stop at that. They also want the plot to be really fun and
And
interesting.
the thing is, too, like I was shocked about the Jason reveal because I didn't know about that.
Oh
Because
yeah,
I thought Jason as a character, as like a silent monk, it's like, oh, that's a pretty good bit. Just like have this character that just will show up and like,
3 episodes in, fuck it.
yeah,
We know
like,
about Jason now.
yeah. And then like at that point, you're just like, what is happening? Like
There's
that,
something more than meets the eye. And
yeah,
then when you get like the bad place crew showing up, they're trying to claim their Eleanor. You get the twist with the real Eleanor and the fake Eleanor, and it's like, oh man, they're building up stakes here. To where's Eleanor gonna end up by the end of the season? You really
yeah.
can't know for sure.
Especially like the whole ethical dilemma of like, oh, well, then what's gonna happen with regular Eleanor and like, because if you were thinking about it from a regular sitcom standpoint, regular Eleanor would probably stay in for the first half of season two, and then she'd leave for some reason. Um, like that's how I would picture it out going. Like if you're going
Or
like,
season 2 would have been like just Eleanor in the bad place for a while, and like you get some flashes to the other crew, and they're gonna rescue her or something like that.
yeah,
But no, we get something better.
hmm
Um, you get the mind wipe. You get first of all the reveal that she's in the bad place. Now, from the offset of this show, there was one thing that if the show did, it would probably ruin it for me. It was so I knew that she was in the bad place, but the show would be ruined if there was no good place at all.
yes, I agree. If there was no place worth getting to,
There was a point in season 3 where I was worried that they were still gonna somehow get there, and I was like, first of all, that's a lot of people in on it, so like, first of all, that's gonna be bad.
yeah,
Second of all, that might ruin it for me. But they did it even better, which
hmm
I think we can get to after. We should probably tackle this like season by season. Our
yeah, for
thoughts.
sure.
Um, uh, One thing that's interesting about this show is how small the cast of main characters was. There's only
Oh yeah,
six.
it stays close to like 10 people.
Yeah, and like, there's a lot of auxiliary characters introduced later on, like Sean and the judge and Trevor and stuff like that.
And they're using sparingly enough and but frequently enough so like, oh, I know who that is, I know who that is, but they don't overburden
They're
the
they're by no means main characters.
yeah. They're very much more akin to like uh maybe like Smoker or someone where they show up every once in a while. And
They're characters that are there. First of all, they're just all really fun characters. Second of all,
yeah.
they're there to move the plot along. But the
hmm
core of the show is exploring our six main characters, and you get a straightforward arc with all of them in season 1. But then
hmm
you reset that arc in season 2, which is a really ballsy move because that's what you were talking about. They were dynamic in season 1, especially near the end as they all start to like they all start to actually be friends. And I'm thinking that the theme of the show, or one of them, is that it's the antithesis of what Michael thought in season one, where he thought,
Right.
oh, bringing people together would be torture to them. But I think the theme that they're getting at is that people are each other's heaven, basically. Like
Well, they're
your
getting
relationships with others is your good place.
yeah, and I think the big theme is like, you know, good people come from people caring about each other, not from people being selfish about each other. Does that
Yeah,
make sense?
yeah,
Like
that's fair.
because they all learn like how to get over their own imperfections by caring about someone else.
Yeah,
Like that's a huge development for them is they have to learn to like because Michael that's it's really shown in Michael because Michael's like I have like I've grown attached to these people and I want to be a good person. That's the way you do it, kind of thing.
so
Uh,
should we? At what point? Like, I feel like we should talk about each of the main characters. But is season one the point to do it?
no, it's definitely like season two. Season one is basically is almost like you. It's just like a play. It's your control of these
Yeah,
characters
yeah. Oh, that's a good way to put it.
because
That's
season
an
two is
absolute good way to put it.
yeah because you need season because in my opinion, Good Place doesn't get really good until season two.
I agree, and I think season two is the best season, and they're all like amazing
Yeah,
seasons. But season two was like
right. Like
insanely good.
yeah, and like and not just in like the character development and everything, but it's also like extremely funny in season two. Season one though, you really need as a way of like you have to see what they all look like in a controlled environment.
Right.
And so you already are attached to these characters and you already know what they're supposed to be like. So when season two rolls around and episode one starts with we already did this 100 times. We've basically gone through 100 seasons of the television show. We
Which
can't do this.
is really novel. And it's
Yeah.
interesting, right? Because now you're exploring these characters, you're getting the same story beats and the same character revelations and the same character development, and you're redoing it over and over. And it's interesting, right? Because you're redoing the same thing, but you're coming at it from different angles, and also like just sometimes speeding through it so fast that it's like it's just all happening, and it's cementing this idea that through each other they're gonna inevitably get good.
Yeah. It's through like and we'll get to that in season three what they're kind of expanding on them out more about like and why the whole system is flawed.
Yeah,
But it really is like the big takeaway is like people working together bring out the good in other people. Like that's it. That's like that's the whole theme is that when people work together, it brings out the best in everyone. Uh
um and of course season two is also when you start getting Michael and Janet and their
yeah.
growth.
Uh-huh.
So Janet, they both had a little bit. So Michael always came off as a dude who was really obsessed with his creation, but also he always had some sort of fascination for just the stupid shit that humans do.
Mhm.
But I guess he was always pessimistic. But in season two, where because he needs the group's help, he agrees to try to become a better person. It actually starts working, and he starts to really value the humans. And I forgot if it's season two or three, but eventually, like, he straight up calls them his only friends.
It's season 2. Like
Yeah, I think
yeah.
it's near the finale.
It's definitely that last arc where like they close down the place and the train and everything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, but like what's great about Michael's character is that Michael is still like Michael because we like we said before like season one's our control variant where we see Michael and he has these little obsessions with like the tiny things that humans are obsessed with and this perfection about like oh I want this to work like this and we see that in season one but we see it as like a good side of Michael, you know, that like oh this is like good place Michael, but then in season two we get glimpses to like bad place Michael a lot more.
Yeah.
And even though they're on different sides of the spectrum like motivational wise from our perspective at the time without any prior knowledge of twists or anything,
Yeah.
he's still the same character. It's just showing that those traits don't necessarily reflect back and forth of like a good or a bad person. It's just depending on how you view that.
Well, with the
That
same traits and just like a little bit of a twist to
yeah.
the words that he would say, it's like, oh,
Mhm.
this is Michael pretending to be good, and this is the real Michael, you know.
Right.
But the real Michael wasn't inherently bad because he had the passion to do something. So, and like the whole thing is like torturing people is so boring, and like this is all y'all do. Don't you want to achieve to do something different? Which is, I mean, you're still torturing people, but like, and it just goes to show you that he just has a mind that's willing to think a little bit more
Mm.
than his other demon friends. Also, I guess will we ever see him without his skin? I guess that's an inevitable like season 4 thing.
I bet it'd be like a bunny or something.
You bet. Well, he's probably just gonna be a generic rock boy.
Oh yeah, generic rock boy. But yeah, it's. But anyways, but on the season two, uh, like season two really is like all right. Season one is just classic sitcom schlock. Season two is breaking down of what we're trying to accomplish with this series.
Yeah.
That's the start of it, and
Which is
it's
we're going to develop these characters from so many angles, and
yeah,
all to not only reinforce the characters and the inevitability that they're going to get better, but also this theme. Like the real thing here is that it's building that theme by showing you how it's applied in multiple ways.
yeah. And the big thing too is like it's a big thing that happens around in this show too is like there isn't like ethically speaking there isn't a correct answer to anything, and that really shows up in season three. Like that's like the whole point of season three.
Yeah.
But it starts showing up a little bit here with like the trolley problem and everything.
The show in general has a good, like when it has like most episodes have a ethical lesson
Yeah.
involved with the episode, and then it tries to personify that lesson through the plot of the episode, and that becomes like really apparent in seasons 2 and 3,
Hmm.
especially 3, where like the episode with the Janets is like all about identity, and like they talk about that lesson, and then you get to see an application of it through the comedy and the drama.
Yeah. Uh
Go on.
yeah, I don't know. Uh season two does great character development. It's our primary source of character development. Like we joke about like One Piece is starting now. Like Good Place really starts at season two.
Yeah, I mean, not like, but season 1 is just so funny and like such a fun ride.
Oh,
But
it
like
is.
season 2 is like, whoa, they're doing something like that is the
Mhm.
point where I'm like, Joe, they are doing something actually really special with this show.
Oh yeah. And like you like Michael go from like A minus Michael and Jan go from like A minus to B rank characters to S plus characters by the end of that season.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, they're so good by the end of that season.
yeah.
Like
And
Michael's just so likable by the end, and like you feel for all the characters, like you grow to love them all, and their flaws are really often displayed to your face. They're a big part of the characters. Like this is their flaw. This is how they're annoying sometimes. This is how they're bad people sometimes. But in
right.
the end, it's like I love them all.
Yeah. But and also it's like all their flaws are not necessarily like over the top, with maybe the exception of Jason, who's just a fucking idiot.
Yeah, but
But
even I grew to like Jason.
yeah, but their flaws are really much like very relatable thing where Eleanor is just like is very nihilistic and doesn't really see a point of helping anyone sometimes because like if you're if helping someone doesn't like help you in some way, why even do it? Tahani's all about insecurity and people's perception on you, and then
Yeah.
Chidi is the indecision that everyone goes through when they have to make important or very small decisions. Like they're very personified, like things that every human does.
And that's an important part of the show because it's a show about quote unquote bad people, and while they have bad aspects, they're so human and relatable and fleshed out. Like there is a good reason for why everyone is like this, or there's a good showing of how their bad actions have consequences. Where a show like It's Always Sunny, where all the characters are shitty and there's no real consequences,
Hmm.
and like there's no real good in them, they're just funny characters. Like if that same thing tried to be applied to this show, that wouldn't work at all. Like these characters are the perfect amount of good and flawed.
Hmm. And they're all redeemable. Like
Yeah,
that's the big thing, and it makes you kind of really think about like, well, what am I, and really like what does like if this is like if getting a bad place means I have to be better than this person is, but this person really isn't that shitty of a human being, then is it really worth it? Which is mainly the season three's whole story,
yeah.
basically.
Season two, in general, season two story, you get that early stretch where they break the concept. You get them trying to help Michael pretend like he's not on his 800th reboot, which is hilarious.
Yeah,
And then you get the big finale where they're trying to meet the judge, which they have to go through the. Why did they go into the Blad place again?
because they can't like basically it's like imagining yourself at
Oh right,
like
yeah,
basically
they have to get
yeah
to the judge through the headquarters of the.
of the
I
bad
keep forgetting they were always in the bad place.
that place. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were never in a good place.
How do you feel
Yeah,
about the fact that they will never show you the bad place or the good place? Not
like
really.
the actual bad place and the
Yeah,
actual good place.
they're never
I
gonna do
mean,
it.
I think that's fine
Yeah,
because um
it would ruin it. I
it,
think
it it would ruin like our like conception of like
all the
oh god
dumb
what could
shit they talk
possibly.
about,
Yeah, it's so much funnier when they're talking about like the hot dog section where they're shoving hot dogs on people's throat.
and all
Like that's
the
the
weird
funny image in your
tortures.
brain. If they show that to you,
It will
I don't
never
think that would
live up to what your
yeah.
brain says. So they do it smart where they're going into like the calmest sections of each of these two places. Um, but yeah, it culminates with them meeting the judge, and the big point is, wow, you guys have really improved, but the rules are the rules, and I'm sorry, but you guys did not do enough in your lifetime to
Yeah.
get here, and that's all that matters, which is really crushing because we've seen
Mhm.
how much they've developed through multiple means.
Also, the judge's character is great,
She's
I
so funny.
think. Hmm.
I like her random crush on Chidi. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the thing about this show. Everyone wants to fuck everybody. Like
that's
this is the
true.
horniest cast.
Like Eleanor just wants to have sex with Tahani every other episode.
Of course, more power to her.
Yeah, sexy skyscraper.
And then like everyone's like, "Oh, Janet, you're so busty," and Jason is
Busty
just
Alexa.
consistently considered hot. And then Chidi takes off her shirt and he's a rippling hunk. So it's like,
Like
oh my,
weirdly.
you got like you got like the most attractive cast. Even Michael's like a silver fox of a man. So good
Yeah.
job. Um,
Oh, I forgot to mention this, but so oh god, what's the name of Michael's character?
you mean his
Like the
actor?
actor.
Ted Danson.
Ted Danson. Ted Danson was on Cheers and was the bartender for Cheers
Right, and there's a scene where he's the bartender. I
for
think in the
Eleanor
finale,
later.
yeah.
Yeah, which was pretty funny.
Which we can talk
Uh,
about that. So the goal is we can send them back in time, and all that we can change is that Michael's gonna give them a little push that'll change their life,
right.
and then we're gonna see how it goes. And you get this really nice episode of Eleanor bettering herself, but
Hmm.
eventually reality sinks in, and she's putting too much effort in for too little gain, and she's slipping back to her habits, and it's kind of soul crushing.
Yeah.
Because
The
the point is like it's not just that push, it's the people in their life. They needed different people in their life for them to
Yeah.
be able to
That,
get better,
yeah. Yeah. The people around you really do help you be a good or a bad person.
which
Uh,
leads us into
that
season 3.
yeah, and that's yeah, but that's the big point of season two, especially is like it's the people around you that help you make you better, and by investing in other people, you therefore invest in yourself and make yourself better.
And it's also very apparent in the first half of season 3. So I will say the first half of season 3 is probably the weakest part of the show
Probably, yeah.
by only a little bit. And the reason
Hmm.
is because they're in Earth for 7 episodes, and you lose some of the humor kick of the show, which is the surrealism afterlife stuff, which is
Yeah,
has
of Janet
so
being
many.
Janet.
Just also all the visual gags, like kicking the puppy into the sky, the giant giraffes, Janet just spawning shit into the world, just a
Yeah.
bunch of good visual gags.
But I will say though, I think it does a really good job of. But though I also like season three in that section because it lets the characters kind of. It gets us to a point where they can have a more natural development, and it helps prove like what we've been thinking is that it's
Yeah.
the people around them that make them who they are.
Even with bad place interference, it's still not enough.
Yeah, and
No,
and it also shows that like it's it go later on in the show that it really is like you can tell they got better because they're around the correct people, but you can't like guilt trip someone into like everything they do because of the ripple effects that they have.
yeah.
but that's much later in the show. But like it's, I mean, I agree with you. It's probably the weakest part of the entire show while
I,
they're on Earth up until I would say like when it gets to the Jeremy Bearimy episodes when it starts
Jesus
getting
Christ,
better.
that episode. So hold on, but I will say it's the weakest part. But as the trade-off, it has some really good writing moments. With
Yeah.
I think it's after the Jeremy Bearimy episodes, you also get the two episodes where they're addressing all of each main character's the bad
Oh yes,
influences in
when they
their
go back.
lives.
Yes.
Where you get Tahani and her sister, which was really
Mhm.
sad. You get
Eleanor and her
Eleanor, her
mother.
mother. You get to meet
You get to
Dougie
meet all
Doug.
the people that made them bad people,
Yeah,
basically.
you get to meet Jason's family, and then what was the deal with Chidi? I think his was just like the bravery to break up with what's her name, because she's important
Oh
for season 4.
yeah,
Yeah, her
yeah. His
Simone.
girlfriend. I think. Yeah. Uh,
Who I really like, Simone. I can't wait to see more of her.
yeah. And the thing about Chidi too was like we already kind of got his whole background with like uh his brother was it or his friend.
Yeah, he just couldn't like his friend like had to put up with Chidi shit his whole life, and he tried his best, but like it's a lot of stuff.
And I
What
think and Chidi's thing is less of like the people around him.
It's him
Um,
around others.
yes, it's him not realizing how much of a burden he is around others.
And I really like that. Yeah, for everyone else, it's the people and how they interact with them. But yeah, with Chidi, it's like he didn't have the people that could help him break out of his shell or give
Mhm.
him a
He
purpose
didn't.
to really realize his problems.
Yeah, he didn't realize he didn't have like Eleanor. Like Eleanor's whole thing is that she doesn't take shit from anyone. So when she just like stands up to him and says like you need to make a decision right now, it it like it's the conflict. Like he's never had the actual conflict with someone else, only with himself.
And consistently, whenever it's a choice that involves Eleanor, Chidi can make a call very quickly.
Yes.
Um, as we saw with the very plot relevant tape of them saying that they love each other.
Hmm.
That's been a plot point that comes up again and again for good reason.
Hmm.
Um, but then they get back to the bad place, or rather, they go to Janet's Void first, which is an episode where Darcy, I forget her last name, just gets to act as everyone. Give the woman an Emmy if she didn't win one.
Yeah, she didn't. But no, that's a great episode. I also really like the episode because it does really good. It goes back to like the good and bad place stuff, and it talks about like, oh, here's the point system, and I think they do a really good like,
Accounting
yeah,
gag.
and like it brings up a wholly really big point of that's interesting to think about. Like, what can you count as a good and a bad action, and like how much can you be accounted for the ripple effects of your
Well,
action?
that really only like they finally understand that point in the finale, right? Which is
Yeah.
what saved. It's even better than I could have hoped for. Was like if there is no good place, that kind of kills some of the show for me.
Hmm.
But better yet is that life got so complex that it's impossible for anyone to get to the good place anymore. That's that perfect level of nihilism that I wanted.
And just it's yeah, and it's you're like oh like that our world is just developed because like people have been selfishly doing things, but because of such progression it's helped a lot of people in such a big conflict and everything. Like there's that great example of the guy went and picked the flowers for his sick mom and like trimmed the hedges and put the soil back down or whatever and like delivered to his mom and he got like 12,000 points. you know
Hmm.
200 years later, guy does the exact same thing, but because he
Loses a
bought the
yeah.
flowers instead, he lost like 500,000 points.
And a very good show of that is Doug Forsett, who even with
Yeah.
all the he makes himself miserable to be a good person, and even he gets barely any points, and he tries his
Mhm.
best.
Yeah, and it's like, and I think that's like the big thing about season 3, especially near the end of it, where they talk more about like you can't where you as a human being you can't be just overly unselfish.
Yeah.
You really have to be at the point you have to really be like there has to be a line where you have to stop caring about the ripple effects of your life and what your actions do. And you can't be held accountable that because you bought macaroni and cheese from Kraft, you've helped. you know, make sure that their slave labor they have in Guatemala or whatever they have.
Which
I
is
don't know if they
totally
have.
true. It all happens.
Yeah. But
Those
like,
damn
you know what I'm
macaroni
saying?
slaves.
Yeah. um, but like basically, it's not fair to judge someone uh based off of the ripple effects of their actions and not why they do those actions. Like
Yeah.
that's the whole big thing. Like you can't like if I go and I get a job somewhere and I get a job somewhere, I shouldn't feel guilty because someone else who's poorer than me didn't get that job,
It's
you know?
it's such a good. I feel like this show at the end of it is gonna be a really good reflection of like the human condition and like
Mhm.
how it's not easy to be a good person, but you should
Yeah.
still try.
hmm And also
Um,
like how like there's a really small segment that I really liked when the judge is like, I'm like 100% impartial because I don't know anything about Earth, and you realize how flawed that system is,
yeah.
that you don't have someone that is able to relate the person they're judging and what they're going
I'm so
through.
glad they didn't dick around with it too, because she went. She was like, apparently I'm black down there, and they really don't like
That's
that.
such a good line.
And then it's like, okay, you know what? Fine. Okay, let's settle this. Let's go to IHOP.
hmm
Figure this out. Oh my god, the time knife. Jeremy Baramy and the time knife are jokes that had me howling. I saw the time knife. By the way, time knife is going to be plot relevant somehow.
I think so too.
Chidi
Like,
saw like all the future, so he's gonna get his memory back through that somehow.
oh, I was gonna say like, I don't know, like they end up like cutting Jeremy Bearimy in half and stitching their lives together in some other way. But
That or like there's been a lot of build up to them ending up on the dot of the Jeremy Bear. What is this sentence we're saying right now? But like like there's a lot of build up to them being on the I dot on the Jeremy Baramy at the end of the show.
yeah,
Like Chidi says it in the last episode. It's like, hey man, we'll find each other, Jeremy Baramy.
yeah,
Um, that's so good. So basically, season 3 ends with them trying to reproduce the circumstances of season 1. Great callback with different people to see if they can make those people better.
hmm
But the bad place gets to select the people, and they make a really good call in selecting people that's going to make it harder for the. It's selecting people that are going to torture our main cast.
right. And then
Interesting things. Go ahead, Joe.
I was gonna say like it's that, and then also we come full circle because now we finally have a point where Eleanor, our main character, doesn't reset,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
she takes all the knowledge that she's learned, because she ends up like sitting down like reviewing everything she's ever gone through again. So she's basically relearned everything she's ever gone through again.
I don't
Um,
know if she went through everything, but she went through
well,
enough.
yeah, but like we now have an Eleanor that knows like the ins and outs of TD, the ins about her ethicality and everything, and now she's in charge of the good place. So it's really going to show like if you have a person that is that has like good intentions in mind, what does that change? Does
Um,
that matter?
I was gonna ask you, how did you feel about Chidi having to get reset? I feel like they set it up plot wise pretty
Uh-huh.
well. It was a little bit annoying because it's like it's the third time that he's getting reset, third effective time.
Yeah,
Um, and it's like, but they also they executed it in a really sad way to where I was still like really invested in it. So I guess we'll see, right?
I think it was good because it lets Eleanor be the one that takes the reins and the ethicality prospect of it and trying to push people to like be better people.
Yeah.
Because Chidi is going to go in and think he's in the good place, so he thinks he doesn't have to change.
Yeah,
So now,
it's a good dramatic tension that can come from
yeah,
that.
and now it's flipped where Eleanor knows like he's not supposed to be in the good place, so she has to come out and like let him realize that himself.
So we know two of the four that are
Right.
joining right now. We have the person who's the counter to Tahani, who is
hmm
just a horrible man who kept heckling her through like
Yeah.
his. But it's important that they're like in a similar goodness level. So I'd say he's pretty similar to Tahani. In Tahani was vain, but she also did so much good. This guy seems a little worse than that. Like he doesn't seem to have.
He's the opposite, where he sees everyone else as having flaws rather than he seeing himself as flawless, like Tahani did,
I feel like
and
that's
being
a
worried.
bigger asshole.
I mean, yeah, but like his whole thing is going to be like him realizing that there's other like good portions of people too, and just because someone else makes a small mistake, that doesn't negate that other portion of that person.
I guess so. Um,
Yeah, and then Simone, I have no fucking idea.
that's the thing. Simone seems like a really stand-up person. Like Chidi hurt the people around him. We never got any inkling that Simone isn't like a helpful, kind person.
Well, the other thing too is you have to remember is Chidi broke up with Simone not because of something that was wrong with her or him, but because like, oh, yeah, I have to go on this cosmic quest. I'd rather not be a burden to you anymore, kind of
Yeah,
thing. So I think like a big part of this arc is Chidi and Simone are going to get back together.
yeah.
It's going to kill Eleanor. Eleanor has to basically like let it go, and she's going to have to realize of like, oh, this is why this person and I don't work together, kind of
Time
thing.
knife, baby. But the thing is, I mean, like on a meta level, if they're supposed to be equally bad people, and like Simone doesn't seem to be anywhere close to the original four, you know.
Maybe, but there might also be something we don't know.
That's what I'm hoping for. I hope we learn about some flaws
Because she
that.
wasn't in a lot of season 3. Like she shows up for a few episodes, and then like the last time we see her is she gets in a taxi that Eleanor was calling, and then
Yeah.
that's it.
Well, she before that she also gives Eleanor a good speech, but
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, that's a bit important. But yeah, I'm interested to see how that turns out. Okay, here's the real kicker: how many episodes until they break this concept? Because we gotta introduce new characters and we gotta develop them a little bit. I'm thinking 6, like it took them half the season this time to get
I'm
back to Afterlife.
hmm
I'm thinking everything's gonna hit the fan at 6 or 7.
I was gonna say like episode 4.
Yeah, I don't think like we'll get to know the characters enough.
I think
Maybe
like
it must not be important if that's the case.
I I feel like what's gonna happen is I honestly don't know what's gonna happen, but I feel like episode 4 is like basically when she is gonna figure out like, oh, I've done this before. Like that's what I think that moment's gonna be. Um,
Hmm.
but
That could be fun, and then like they have to still keep Chidi helping the others because Chidi. So if we're talking about the characters now that we've covered all the seasons, Chidi is super central to the story because he's the one who can actively make all these people better through his lessons. So that's a really good character to write into the story.
right.
So I feel like he's very important for also the season 4 plot.
hmm
We didn't talk about Janet very much, but I think Janet is like the most unique character written
I feel like
in just about anything.
I feel like we should talk about Janet like at another time because there's so much that can go into her, or it's just like she is one of the most uniquely written characters like made.
Yeah,
And-
I haven't seen many characters more unique than Janet.
Because a lot of the times what happens is when people write a godlike being, it's usually like a trickster godlike being kind of thing.
Yeah,
Or like, like, oh, I'm just gonna contract and then now I have your soul forever. Like very low-key kind of things.
or just an omnipotent douchebag.
Yeah. Janet is very much just like very mellow, pretty neutral to good side of things, and like very cheerful and carefree.
She's
but like
good. Like even after she's found herself, she finds it hard to be mean to people. You know. Um.
I'm thinking of that image of Janet when Michael finds out that she's actually the bad Janet and they knock out Shaw and she's just like nodding her head stupidly.
Yeah. There's so many good Janet moments. So I think like it's worth just mentioning. Just like Janet is a character who has godlike power, but she's subservient to Michael. She was also being tricked along with everyone, and around season 2 and 3, she starts learning to be her own thing. But she's explicitly not a robot, not a girl, not a woman, not a girlfriend. She's just Janet. She is just so incredibly unique, and God, what a character!
Yeah.
And they've done a great job expanding on that.
Mm-hmm.
Joe, we're gonna wrap this up with
Yeah.
us having to kill our children. Rank the 6 characters from fave to least fave. No, go the other way. Least fave to fave.
Uh,
Oh,
our six main characters.
yeah, there's six, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So Jason,
Okay.
Tahani,
Okay.
Chidi,
Okay.
Eleanor,
Mm-hmm.
Michael, Janet.
Damn, that's a good list. But here's an alternatively also good list. Jason. And like, well, I think Jason is just too dumb to be believable, but he's also so fucking funny, and also
Yeah,
really,
like
he can be really sweet. Like sometimes
mhm.
he's just a really sweet boy.
It's just he's really fucking dumb.
So fucking dumb. Jesus Christ, Jason. Bortles. So it goes Jason. Oh god, this is actually impossible.
It's never the last slot. It's always the second to last slot. That's the worst one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Jason, Michael. I know. Hold on, Jason, Michael, Eleanor, Janet, Tahani, Chidi, which is completely
Really?
different from yours. Oh yeah.
Oh, nah.
Oh, you're going to the bad place, Joe. It's hard because like those top five are all very close to each other.
Hmm.
God,
I
but
mean,
Michael's so good, and Eleanor's so good too.
to me, like a big part of it is like season 2 and season 3 are really much just like
Big Michael
Michael learning
seasons.
to be something more. Um,
He's the best written character.
yes, he has the best written
Well,
arc, mainly because it
sorry,
doesn't break
Janet
ever.
is probably the best written character, but also it's hard to connect to Janet because she's so beyond us humans. So you could make the argument that like Michael's also the best written because you can connect to him in so many ways.
But you can also say like Janet is like such a is a template of like, oh, I want to be that person. Like that's like the ideal like person to be, kind of. But at the same time, you realize of like how much that person has to go through, like with the whole Jason thing, and how much they're like bottling down, and
Maximum
like this.
Derek.
Yeah,
But also Eleanor is so well written too, where like she very believably is a shitty person with her backstory, her shitty parents, just trying to be herself, not trying to fit in with anyone, to becoming the leader of this group. It's just so well done. And then
mm-hmm.
the other the other three main characters, they have varying levels of character development, but they're all like just so funny and like round out the cast. Where it's a perfect cast. It's just perfect.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's get the fork out of here, Joe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's
good
raw.
good talk though. This show deserved it.
Yeah. Anyways, if you haven't watched Good Place now, I don't know why the fuck fork you're here. So go watch The Good Place.
Get your shirt together.
Yeah.
Pull
If
out
you
your
haven't watched
Hulu or
Good Place,
Netflix.
yeah. If you haven't watched Good Place, comes out September 26th. Willer and I will be. I don't know if we'll be doing a week to week discussion about it. I don't feel like we should. We might do a mid season one to discuss everything.
I
But
was thinking we could do oneers for each episode, where we just give a quick, "Hey, this was a good episode. That was a good joke," and then move on, like a
yeah,
5 minute.
maybe.
Or we
Yeah.
do a half season, but I feel like we'd have to get spoilier. We'll see how it goes.
We'll see what happens. Maybe season 4 is hot garbage, or like don't watch it. But you know,
Oh, don't break my heart.
I know. All right, gang. I'll talk to you later.